Okay, so we can start with the first panel. So, hello everyone, hello panelists. So, I know everyone is quite busy right now for the networking because I think so. This is the first event as well on 2000, like 2049, right? So, let's get started. So, just to give you my introduction, I'm the moderator for this panel. I'm the head of ecosystem at Manta Network. Topic is quite simple. I don't want to go into what detail over written is over here. So, it's simple. We are talking about hacks and we are talking about security because we have all the pioneers from the security side. So, without taking time, I'll just want you to give a brief introduction, like very brief, within 30 or 1 minutes. Yeah.
So, hi everyone. My name is Pedro Gomes. I'm the founder of WalletConnect and also the director of the WalletConnect Foundation. And we connect wallets and apps all over every chain, every token, and pretty much everywhere.
Good morning, everybody. My name is Igor. I'm the Chief Growth Officer for Hacken, and we are making a Web3 safer place by implementing security for all the protocols and everything on chain.
Hey everyone, I'm Shashank. I've been, a security guy my entire life, and now I'm running this company called CredShields, where we're building, an AI agent for automating your security vulnerabilities in smart contracts.
Morning, everyone. My name's Aneirin. I run a cybersecurity firm called FailSafe. We're backed by Sequoia and Dragonfly, and we do everything from continuous compliance all the way to runtime monitoring and incident response. Thank you very much. Great to be here.
Thank you. Thank you. It was very short and sweet. Thank you so much for that. So, the agenda for this conversation, I'll just keep first few questions generic so that I can get your answers. And based on that answers, I'll just continue forward. Is it cool? Okay. Awesome. So, first question, like when we talk about security, everyone knows, like, even on the introduction of conference, they mentioned trustless and decentralized. When we talk about decentralizations or trustless, so, but still as a user, I still need to first trust the code. Then I trust the auditors who trust the code and who approves the code. And finally, the team as well who has built the project. So there are still three ways or three layers of trust which we need to do even in a decentralized ecosystem. So what do you think? Like, can we eliminate this thing in future? If not, then how can we secure this ecosystem? Because there are still three ways where we can just get hacked, we can just get compromised. So, what is your opinion on this? Like, let's start with you.
I mean, the first thing is we're getting hacks way less. I think people get too caught up with the metrics around how big was a certain hack in the last time, but the market has also grown much, much bigger. And also another thing that we've noticed is like the hacks that are happening at the edges. Like we're no longer being hacked so much at the core. It's not the blockchain. Sometimes it's not even a smart contract. It's an off-chain infrastructure that went wrong and usually from human error. And there's layers to this. Like you can't treat security all the same. And in these layers, we have to create these layers of trust, like you mentioned. Like, do we verify at the core? Do we verify the smart contract? Do we verify at the wallet, at the app? Like, we require like some sort of reputation system. And WalletConnect, we've been working a lot of that. We have now certified wallets who actually can give you the best security. We're also working on certified applications and giving different levels of reputation that allow you to make choices as a user.
Got it. Oh, just a short follow-up. So when you mentioned about all these things, like we have multiple layers so that we can secure more ecosystem. So do you think like we can still eliminate these human layers through AI?
A lot of the times the problem is not that someone actually made a human error. It's more about there's someone actually is still the key owner of something, right? You have to remove the responsibility of owning the key to some door. Like it's not that humans make mistakes and making decisions. It's more that humans still have the power to actually control the keys. They shouldn't have no keys at all.
Okay, got it. So, okay, let's go. Igor, what's your opinion?
Trust no one, right? So, who should we trust? We should trust the last person to touch the code. So essentially, at this point, so the devs, the people that are building, and everybody that's developing, they're all verifying. So as an auditor, we take responsibility for validating all the entry points. So people developing, people are thinking about it, and if the logic is going into it, is actually delivered in the code. So there's no backdoors, no re-entrancies, and so on. So I would assume that we should have security firms, the auditors, be held responsible, as all of us are saying, right? There should be somebody that's taking the initiative and taking responsibility for it. Now, as a user, on the other hand, we all should be doing the DYOR. So always check and confirm whether or not the products, the exchanges, the wallets, and everything else that you're involved with are doing bare minimum for the security standards. And that's what we've actually done, is implemented CER.live. That's what we rank products based on their security implementation, and that's where the CoinGecko gets their trust score. So everybody, nothing is perfect. Everything has flaws, but at the very least, security for projects should be an ongoing thing. It's not something that's bolted on at the moment and forgotten about. So unless a project thinks of security as a part of their architecture and thinks of how to protect their users, community, and everything else around it, there's always going to be flaws. And the reason we're concentrating more so on the dollar amount right now, rather than number of hacks, is simply because the exposures in each vulnerability in itself is becoming much more cost critical, because we're having less attacks, but each attack is becoming more efficient, more painful, like by bit. Right, we're all
That's
thinking
fun.
about it, right? So the idea behind it is that they've done everything possible for the security, and then as everything else in security, it's only as strong as the weakest link involved, and that's your user, that's your employees, unfortunately. So the social engineering is definitely becoming a serious critical problem.
Got it. So, basically, like what I get from your answer is the last trustable way for any project can be a auditor. Once that auditor approves you, we can just trust it, right?
Should be, but it's not.
It's not, yeah, right. So my question for that particular thing is, so say suppose like Bybit is a centralized thing. I won't discuss about that. But all these other small hacks as well. Like last year, I remember there were two RWA perp decks, like KiloX was backed by Binance. It was got hacked for around 8 million. I remember Soth, which was a RWA protocol. It was hacked for 22 million. All these are decentralized protocols. I hope like if they have raised more than 5 million, they would have gone for the auditing thing as well. So what do you think? Like that is a human error from the auditing side? And if yes, so is there a compliance or a centralized DAO system which we should create so that all these auditors come in a place? They have a neutral agreement where they discuss about the hacks and they see how we can improve this.
Well, only by us sharing it all, sharing the vulnerabilities and exposures, we can see a different opportunities. So when we're doing an audit, we're first of all implementing multiple different vectors. So it's a double blind where two separate auditors are checking at the same time, and then we have another senior that's validating it. That's at the very least we're having more eyes on it. But then by us and others wanting to and being willing to contribute the exposures, the vulnerabilities that we all uncover into a mutual platform, into a mutual data set, then we can have something that's preventive. If we uncover something, we can share with somebody else. I'm finding it that it's really hard for all of us to get at one table and say, like, look, let's create this centralized, because everybody wants to have, an upper hand in a certain field. So nobody wants to share it. Until there's a union amongst all the security guys, it's going to be pretty hard.
So you should take the first step. Try it out.
There are things to come.
Okay, cool. Yeah, Shashank, what's your opinion?
My opinion is like if we look into the word trustless, it doesn't mean it's like no trust at all. At the end, there will be something you have to trust on. Like even if you're trusting an auditor, there is one point of someone you're trusting. But how do we get things more towards being trustless is by breaking into every component. Like he said we are focusing on too much on smart contracts and then missing on our employees laptop, what they're installing. The Bybit hack was an example. It was probably an employee compromise, something like that. When you break all these things in multiple it's like components, employee security, it's like web application security or infrastructure security, etc. I think will reach more closer to having better security. That's what I feel.
I when I go to CredShield website, the first thing I see is not auditor. I see AI. So you mean like, what's your opinion? Like, do you trust human more or AI more?
See, at the end, again, this is as a tech guy, my personal feeling is that humans are still better. I won't say AI overtakes everything to be in the real world scenarios, but we tend to make it more closer. It's like we make things much faster. For example, like when you use Copilot, the whole idea is you're not coding everything. It's like using AI. You are having a human brain behind that. And same goes with AI auditing as well. It sits in your like software development lifecycle, which is called as the shift left approach in the Web 2 world. Uh, what happens is like it removes like 60, 70, or 80% of the vulnerability, which makes your next step, which is going for a manual audit, and the next step, going for a bug bounty program, much easier and financially more, it's like affordable. So that's what my approach would be.
Got it. I'll just come back to this thing as well. Yep. Like final thoughts on this question specific.
I think FailSafe, and actually Pedro brought up something interesting, which was, can humans truly relinquish kind of ownership or responsibility of the assets that they have? I think in theory that sounds really good. I'm not 100% sure if humans would be happy relinquishing access and ultimately saying, here's a machine and I'm going to give everything over to it. So we think the future of trust and cybersecurity in space is probably most likely autonomous and very data driven. We've seen it in Web 2, where companies like Manta, for example, are giving you compliance monitoring. And ultimately, what we're offering today is a trust primitive that allows us to not just look at sort of whether a project has been audited and whether, the latest commit has been audited by a really great auditor, but it's, hey, is everything across the stack being covered by some kind of monitoring solution? Are there OPSEC reviews been done? Have their latest upgrades been audited? Are we even monitoring everything on chain that's happening to make sure that these guys aren't violating some policy and some jurisdiction that they're in? So that's what I'm excited about when it comes to, I think, just being able to verify on a continuous and autonomous scale.
You mentioned like we can't directly trust or we can give assets to a particular decentralized place. So do you remember when the crypto and everything started, that was the major opinion, right? Like we'll keep the custody of all the assets. And even right now, my personal opinion is whenever I go to a chain abstraction, account abstraction wallet, I don't keep all the funds over there. I still trust Ledger. I still trust MetaMask more than a custodian wallet because I know it gives me convenience, but it doesn't give me like security. I know I can forget my seed phrase, but that's my mistake. It's not someone else's mistake because it's easy to give the blame to others. It's better like we keep the blame on ourselves. We know that we did a mistake and it's more better, right? So you still think like it will be an issue in future?
I mean, yeah, we're human. At the end of the day, we want to sleep with the physical thing under our bed, right? We want to keep the money under our mattress. But, I think the crux of this is that, and where we spend a lot of time with founders is giving them the basic security education that they need so that a security culture can be instilled at the very top. And it's not, some department that a founder hires much later on. And so that's where we're spending a lot of time. We're slowly building more tooling to ensure that you can start to relinquish a lot of this ownership and these single points of failure. But I mean, to the point that these guys made, it's a journey, and we need to share a lot more data and information and best practices. And I would love to see a lot more collaboration moving forward.
Got it. I have a question on your product as well, but we'll go to that later. So, Pedro, just a simple question. Whenever I go to a new project, I maybe see Phantom, I maybe see like MetaMask, Trust, and everything, but I always see WalletConnect over there. So, as we know, like the more exposure you have, the more chances of getting hacked or like maybe a silly mistake can bring a lot of like losses to a user. So, do you think like because whenever we click on Wallet Connect, we see a QR code, then we scan it. So do you think like these things can actually result into a hack, or it has been like previously, but you saved it and other things? Like share your opinion on that.
No, because the way WalletConnect was designed was to not have as much impact in the hack itself. Like WalletConnect is a very widespread product because it has a very minimal surface of attack. When you actually are interacting with WalletConnect, it's only bridging the communication between an app and a wallet, but it's actually not interfering with the actual content of that message. So if WalletConnect were to be hacked, you can't even have the man in the middle attack because we're only passing the payload without actually interfering with that payload. And that's why we've been running for like 7 years and you still have the ability to safely transact. But because we actually are still bridging, we are able to add features on top. Like we're able to verify if the domain is correct. We're able to verify if you actually are using the correct wallet. We're able to verify if this wallet has all the security compliances. So we're able to add things without actually touching the critical things like the transaction payload itself.
So when we talk about bridging, is it just bridging the information or is it also giving the access to Wallet Connect?
Yeah, so bridge is a very loaded word. It's essentially relaying a message between two counterparties, right? It has nothing to do with cross-chain bridging. It has nothing to do with like liquidity. It has to do with information passing between two different applications.
Got it, got it. Thank you. Okay, coming Igor. So on your side, so I know like hacking from a quite long time, like since 2023. I know your founder. I've been in touch with him. Uh he knows a lot of project he have been auditing. So just give me a very simple answer. Like, what was the biggest hack which you think like you guys have saved? Or maybe give me a case study which can actually bring more impression around the hacking community over here.
Well, the biggest hack as we know it is Bybit, right? And so
I mean, on the decentralized side, like the actual protocol hack or a bridge hack or a wallet compromisation, anything on the like decentralized side specifically. And what do you think, like, if you guys were on that side, or have you guys already? So let's take an example. I'm building a project called as Shubham. I have a Oracle failure on the off-chain side. Everyone mentioned about the same thing. So when I go to you, you have seen this thing and you solved it. But a same protocol which name is Igor went to some other hack auditing platform. They didn't see it, but you have already solved the same question or the same vulnerability on your side. So is there any case study like this?
So that's something that I would have to refer back to Hack and Proof, actually our bug bounty. That's where a lot of the discovery has been made. So as a second option. So after an audit, he passes, and then we introduce our community. So it's crowdsourcing. I think that's where the biggest cases would be in terms of the bounty payout, and that would be because that's typically the bounty is tied to the amount that's been preserved and prevented from being taken out. So for what you're asking in particular, I'd probably say it's not hacking, it's hack and proof, which is the same umbrella, but that's the guys that probably did the most saving, if I can say it that way.
Got it, got it. Okay, continue on this thing specifically. So for hacking right now, so you mentioned about Bybit twice. So, like, what's your major stance after that? Like, have you guys changed internally some things? Is there some policies which you suggest to the protocols that come to you? Because eventually, every protocol that comes to you has a multisig. And if they give you a custody of like suggesting auditing and stuff, so do you personally help them out on all these auditing factors and all the security factors which can result into a hack?
Yeah, we've been actively promoting crypto CCSS audit, which allows us to help centralized exchanges or anybody else that needs it that has custodialship to have an audit, making sure that not only just the smart contracts and so on are secure, but an actual infrastructure that the multi-sigs are set up properly, and that there's a lot of different factors that went into that particular hack, and CCSS covers it. So out of that, we always, as an industry, learns and makes kind of results, learns from the industry's mistakes, and then implements, and that's typically how the new products and new services are born. And then, of course, to include the on-chain monitoring that allows you to additionally monitor and prevent and identify things as it happens.
Got it. Okay. I'll come to this specific thing later. So, Shashank, uh, so as I mentioned, and you also mentioned about AI and everything. So I've been using your protocol like Manta is connected already. So I know you wanted to help with this AI tool to all the early stage developer. I see a lot of people sitting over here. I know there will be some early stage developer who have less funds to get audited fully. So do you think like for the early beta stage and stuff, like we can still trust the CredShield and like this solidity scan, whatever the product was called, so that they can just get verified over there, and if that is like secured, they can just go with the early beta. Whenever they launch, they can just go for the audits.
Yeah, definitely. Again, there is another use case of an AI audit is it's like, for example, again, as I said in previously as well, that when you go through an audit, AI audit, uh, it doesn't give you 100% it's like audit for you. Definitely need and it's like a manual audit in place, and then also a bug bounty program, because even in a manual audit, edge cases can be missed. So there is another use case is that, for example, right now, for example, you went for an audit that went for 15 days, and you're all done and dusted. But maybe it's like what happened, I think 2 years back, was Open Zeppelin's time lock had a vulnerability, and if you are not going through an audit right now, maybe you don't even know that one of your imports is vulnerable. That's where it's like tooling comes into picture, because it's continuously monitoring and giving you alerts about latest attack vectors, and it's like new vulnerabilities in place. So it has both use cases, early stage as well as ongoing. And since it is automation, it is cheaper, so it's more affordable as well. And that's why it's like an even entire security ecosystem. The shift left approach, where you do it's like where you have a CI/CD pipeline integration of tools, then you have manual audit, then you have bug bounty program, then post that you have runtime it's like monitoring, etc., transaction monitoring, etc., to do damage control, just in case something is it's like is suspicious. So overall, these constitutes the it's like the security ecosystem.
Got it. Okay. So when you talk about all these four steps, does this also include other steps apart from this? So let's take an example. I go to you, I give my contracts to you, you have a look, you analyze it. But still, after certain time, if they have some vulnerability, so will that be considered as your mistake, or is it considered as our mistake that time?
That depends. For example, it's like if there is a 0 day on Open Zeppelin's module, then I mean it's not much of an auditor's fault. But then yes, if you have missed a vulnerability, then it is your fault for sure. But then again, we have seen even with the best auditing firms, bugs do get missed, and it's not a shame, because it has happened in the Web2 world as well. Edge cases and bugs get missed, and that's where it's like you make things better by having other programs, like maybe a bug bounty program or a vulnerability disclosure program, and that's how it helps. Yeah.
Got it. Okay, thank you. Yeah, sorry for the delay. Till coming to your side. So, I know, like, right now we all know everything right now is booming on the institution side. Like, if we go to token side events, mostly it's about institution and other things. So, I've seen a product called as Radar. In it, it's KYT and AML. So, is it like more on the institution side? Because I know like it is quite booming. People are looking on more the AML solutions and stuff, because we know like back when privacy was famous in 2021, there were a lot of not hacks, but there were a lot of money laundering things happening from Tornado Cash and stuff. So, what do you think specifically? Like, is it more focused on that? If yes, so just enlighten us. Like, what is AML audits and stuff?
So I think if you look at the full trust and safety stack, you've got everything from your audits through to making sure you're not facilitating the laundering of money, all the way to making sure you're not getting hacked at runtime. So when we started this company about 4 years ago, we found that actually the audit space it's very just crowded already. And so what we started to see was that projects were being audited for the past and not essentially monitoring for any sort of anomalous events that would indicate a future hack. And so that, I think, is the critical next step for projects that have been audited once or twice or a few times, but now they're at runtime and they're in production. And presumably, if you truly consider what the attack vector looks like or what the landscape looks like, an attacker in crypto is so incentivized to just find one small vulnerability that they can exploit. And so that was what we tried to do with monitoring. And obviously, if you consider regulation in general, it comes in where the free market has failed us. The government intervenes and they say to the banks, not only do you need all your code audited, but hey, we're going to dump a bunch of OPSEC requirements on you, but also you're going to have to do a bunch of runtime monitoring and you're going to have to report to us. And the reason why that is true in Web 2 is because humans are inherently flawed and we choose not to implement these things just out of the goodness of our own hearts because it's expensive. And so where we are coming is trying to implement a way for projects to basically check all these boxes and make sure that they're doing all of these things that they need to, from obviously beyond the initial audit to your runtime monitoring to your OPSEC and making sure that's all in place without it being a very painful process. So that's where FailSafe comes in.
Got it. Actually, I want all of your opinion. So, when we talk about institutions specifically, do you think like auditors can actually play a big role on that? Because if I am a government, I have a issue with the security part of the crypto in general, not about decentralization and stuff, just a security part, because there is no centralized party who can take the blame. So, do you think like auditors and stuff can take a responsibility and bring more adoption where they can be a middleman for the government, which gives approval that we are here, will secure the ecosystem, and you just come invest in the crypto or Web3 ecosystem in general? Just one or two line answer, like starting from you.
In previous, like traditional internet security, there's standards around SOC type 2 and everything. The more we introduce these concepts like open frameworks for security so that multiple security companies can follow and then become like a stamp of approval for institutions, the better, because it will show us that we can self-regulate ourselves and we don't need the government to intervene.
Okay, what's your opinion?
Should, can, are. That's in our case. We are working with regulators now, helping them structure the regulatory framework around the security. Now self-regulation at this point is like leaving a kid in the candy store and saying like no one's watching. That's kind of what's happening. That's where we're going. That's actually what we're working on. And I think in the near future, that's where it's going to be. But enterprises are going into it, into the DATs, everything on chain, and we're there to help. We have the expertise. They're kind of new ones in this situation, so we should be the ones helping them out.
Yeah, I mean, it's a similar answer. The thing is, to give a stamp of approval, basically there needs to be certain standards which doesn't exist properly yet in the Web3 space. And that's somewhere we are also contributing. For example, in the security space, there is something called, NIST standards and the OWASP standards. So right now, our project was approved by the OWASP, the committee for SCS, Smart Contract Security Verification Standards. And we also published the top 10 of, last year's smart contract security vulnerabilities. So I guess once we get, once these standards are more accepted across, across the institutions and companies, then the stamp of approval would make more sense.
Got it. Yep.
So yes, standards are very important, but ultimately you need to, and maybe this is the beauty about crypto, you can possibly verify that these standards are being followed, and not just by making sure that an auditor has checked off one time and said, yep, these guys are doing it, but we're cryptographically attesting that, hey, these guys are signing this transaction in a particular way. I think what is maybe exciting for the future is this idea of composable compliance. Let's say your jurisdiction is Singapore and you need to check off all these boxes. When a Singaporean customer logs onto the website, what you see is basically this particular platform has checked everything that the Singapore government requires a crypto project to do, and they're verifying this at runtime, and therefore you can go ahead and interact with this company without being pursued by the government.
Got it. Just one word answer I want from everyone. So whatever comes to your mind first. So when we talk about hacks, what do you think, like, which is the biggest category or a kind of projects or a tooling which is always getting hacked previously, plus it will also be getting hacked in future. So it can be text-based lending protocols, stable coins, whatever you feel. So what's your opinion? Just one word answer.
Well, it's the actual transaction approval for most multisigs.
So multisig.
Not the specific pattern where one of the signers has to look at the transaction and say, yes, I approve this. Right? That's the moment that gets, like, it's not the actual multisig that gets hacked. It's the information that is provided to the signer when they are approving that transaction. And even though multisigs have 2 out of 3, 3 out of 5, 5 out of 7, but you can take like 3 humans making the same mistake to get hacked.
Got it. Yeah, what's your case?
I'd add SDKs to this.
SDKs?
SDKs, just as a point of connection, like part of the multi-sig, but where we come together as a bridge or any other dApps or anything else. The SDKs need to be audited and checked as well.
So you mean like interoperability is the biggest place where we can get hacked?
Yes, that's one. I think that might be a huge problem.
Okay. Yeah, Shashank.
Since I'm working on AI and code-related vulnerabilities, I have the numbers. Last year, it was 953 million for access control vulnerabilities. I think it's gonna remain the same for this year as well. Although other vulnerabilities like reentrancy and all, they're going down, but access control vulnerability is gonna remain the top of our list, I guess.
Explain more what I said.
Access control vulnerabilities, like
For a
Okay. So basically, when there is a smart contract, although we talk about decentralization, but for certain years or maybe certain time period, there are certain access controls in place, or even maybe it can be a feature where there is an admin, there is a minter, maybe different roles. So access control vulnerability is something where a certain privileged or a no privilege user is able to perform an action of an higher privilege, it's like user, maybe an admin, and that's categorized as access control vulnerabilities. So
thank you.
Yeah.
Yep.
I think I'll say supply chain. Ultimately, we're seeing a massive decrease, as you guys will know, in just logic vulnerabilities, just because everyone's learning from each other. But where it's super easy to go further upstream and have a massive blast radius if you're an attacker is go and find the guy who's responsible for updating the NPM packages. So that's the easy place to start, and I think that's where a lot more attacks will be moving in the future.
Got it. So we have 10 minutes. I'll just ask you one simple question and one specific question. So everyone here knows about what happened with like initially Hyperliquid, like the hack which happened, but they rolled back the chain fully and they like with the number of validator, it was kind of centralized move, which we cannot do with Ethereum, we cannot do with any other like decentralized chain. So do you think like for now, we don't require the fully decentralized ecosystem so that we are being more secured in an ecosystem? And once we have the security aligned, we can just go to fully decentralized ecosystem. Because first we came with the fully decentralized ecosystem where BTC was P2P. We had MetaVask, which was again like a fully decentralized wallet. But now we are coming back to a middle where it is a hybrid with account abstraction, where you have a semi-control and stuff. So do you think like we are running back on time? Where starting with centralization, fully decentralization, and then we are coming to middleman. So what's your opinion? Are we going on the backward side, or we should still trust the fully decentralized ecosystem, even if there are hacks happening and we cannot control it?
I think blockchain itself is a little bit more composable and modular now. Like, it's not like everything is becoming centralized or everything is becoming decentralized. Some pieces need to be more centralized than others. And one example that you were mentioning is you could have a very decentralized solution where you have like multiple validators, multiple nodes, and still have a very centralized recovery system for when an emergency is needed. And that composability is necessary to design a better system, because maybe centralization is not great when things are going right, but it's definitely convenient when there's a mistake.
Got it. Igor, what's your opinion?
I think we have a solution in terms of having centralized for where it's needed and decentralized where it's not, but figuring out where's which is what is where we're struggling right now. The degen crypto guys want everything decentralized, and then institutional guys want it centralized. But then once again, ability to kind of recover in if there's a mistake has been made or vulnerability has uh, been handled. So, anyways, it's about figuring out which system is for whom, and that's where the struggle is right now. Institutional guys are coming in and they want to have they want to have a level of control, and you know, us crypto people really don't want any control. So, go figure. I'm for both, and I think we're gonna end up having a full centralized system.
Got it. Okay. That's a different opinion, though. Yeah. Shashank.
I agree with Pedro actually. See, it's like if we just look into more granular level, you will see that when hacks happen, even Ethereum, they also did a split, right, because of a hack, the DAO hack. So a bit of centralization is good because at least it's still transparent rather than centralized exchange when like Mondocs got hacked. Nobody had any picture about what's happening, and it still happens with centralized exchanges. You don't have complete picture how much funds is there or not. Same case with FTX. So at least with decentralized exchange, a bit of centralization where they do rollbacks or recovery of fund freezing, whatever. Yes, you may call it, it's like we are not going towards decentralization, but at least, it's like it's transparent that they are trying to avoid some illicit activities. That's it.
Yep. Yeah, 100%. The spirit of decentralization must be true for what we see. But in general, we will move towards a happy middle ground. And obviously, that is what Hyperliquid have done. And I think in the future, you'll interact with what you want to interact with, right? If something is truly well, can anything be truly decentralized? But let's say you only want to go to the DEX that is truly a decentralized one, the users will just go and use that one.
So we have two parties right now together. So, okay, never mind. So we will run out of time. So I just want a final thoughts from you. It can be about your product, like what you guys are coming up with, or maybe if you want to share some alpha with us. So starting with you, Pedro.
Well, we obviously want to have a safer experience for everyone. Like WalletConnect has always focused on user experience. And with this certified program for WalletConnect, what we're providing is the ability for people to not have to investigate so much about wallets and applications, and WalletConnect giving its essentially its input into the world so that you can make a rational decision with what is a very big source of truth. Like, we've decentralized the network, we've decentralized the governance. We have a lot of people working towards making the WalletConnect network safer. And you as a user have the ability to trust that when you see WalletConnect certified, that you will have a safe experience without having to take the compromise. So it's not the perfect solution. Obviously, if you do your own research, it's much better, but it takes so much resources and so much time for anyone to consume that it also takes all the fun from being on-chain.
Got it. Okay.
Security is a continuous thing. It's not something that's done and forgotten about. So, as long as people building things take that into consideration, it makes it easier for users and our industry can prosper. Think of security as kind of like an insurance policy. Nobody wants to pay for it, but gosh, they're happy if they have it, right? So continuous security, do all the steps, do the architectural security, and at the end, always add some monitoring tool. Either one of us has great tools. Find what works for your product, but do everything that's necessary to prevent yourself. Recovering from an incident is very hard, so I recommend that you take time, effort, contact somebody that you're comfortable with, and have them do an assessment and help you understand if there's any exposures that you may have.
For us, what we're trying to solve is, it's like automating security vulnerabilities, and it's not to compete against manual audits. It's more to complement them, and that's what we do. It's like we trained our AI model with the entire data sets of all public audit reports, and it's a very common fact even in the Web2 world as well that vulnerabilities do get repeated across developers, across companies, etc. So if you can fix those vulnerabilities while you are developing your product, it makes your audit cost much more it's like cheaper, and both finance-wise as well as time-wise, because you're spending more time on fixing more bugs, because a lot of them have been covered during your development lifecycle itself. So that's what we are trying to do. It's like to have an AI agent kind of, it's like security researcher sitting in your own pipeline, which is much cheaper and much more affordable. Thank you.
I think the reality is when you're working with a security partner, you just want to work with someone that you like. You're going to be pinging this guy at 3 a.m. and you want to make sure that this guy is going to respond to you at 3 a.m. And so I think that's first and foremost, make sure that you guys have great chemistry. But I think a space where we are moving towards is, especially in the agentic vault space, we often see that innovation also outpaces the rate that cybersecurity can catch up, and the attackers somehow manage to wedge themselves in between and exploit everything in between. We're seeing that the most fertile ground for exploits right now are developers that are introducing agentic workflows into wallets. And just on the fly, we came out of a war room situation probably last night, where we saw that one particular agentic vault was taking a single source of truth from a fear and greed index. We were able to input a malicious prompt and basically drain the protocol pretty much instantly. So we're seeing that, find a security partner that you like with, that has obviously a broad range of capabilities in the space, build up a good relationship with them, and be forward thinking about, the kind of threat models that exist with the tech stacks that you're implementing.
Correct. Okay. I think so. This is the end of the balance. Thank you everyone for joining and hearing us out. I know the security topic is quite boring, but it is also important as well. So thank you everyone for attending first panel. Thank you, panelists.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.